Welcome to this class about the project investment identification. We're dealing with the phases of the project investment. Identification is the first one. The outline for this class is very rich. We'll deal with objectives and phases of the step, identification. We'll see the importance of a very diffuse tool, which is SWOT analysis. As we will see, the acronym SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Sources and development of a project idea. The first framework of a business opportunity. So we're going to frame these ideas into elements and workable actions. Finally, we'll deal with the key aspects of project identification. The phase of identification is crucial within the project investment activity. So we should be very careful on giving details about all these items we're going to deal today with. Objectives and phases of the step. Again, identification. Project identification. Entrepreneurs seek business opportunities. Controllers of capital seek opportunities to put it into work. So we can start with a general simplification, considering two typologies of actors. Entrepreneurs on one hand, which can be considered the promoters of the business idea, which could be considered the enthusiastic sponsor of the idea itself. On the other hand, we have the controllers of capital, or the owners of capital itself, which could be a little bit more skeptical or doubtful about the idea itself, since they have in mind the idea of opportunity for investing the capital they're controlling. This phase goes through a specific process. The process is made of 4 basic steps. The first one is the scanning of sources of ideas. So, considering ideas as a crucial asset for whatever economic activity, we found out that we have different sources of these ideas. Could be individual creativity, could be teamwork in creativity, could be that ideas come out of business intelligence or any kind of potential innovation that an individual and or a team could have in mind. All these sources need to be scanned, elaborated, analyzed, and observed in a critical way. Second phase of the process, profile. We could profile the different actors. We could profile the different kinds of investments. We could profile the different scenarios connecting objectives and returns. Third, to develop selection criteria. If we recall that already in the first class, we've seen that different participants could have different criteria for evaluating the very same project. It's easy to understand that at this stage, we need to select those criteria. So we have to clarify what we're looking for and we're promising in terms of returns to our investors financiers, regulators, and suppliers. Then we have to screen ideas versus criteria. This screening is very delicate. I mean, promoters, entrepreneurs could be, again, very enthusiastic about their own ideas. But in order to deploy the investment activities and in order to be successful in promoting the investment and collecting the necessary resources, capital, manpower, equipment, and so on, these ideas have to match the criteria that participants have in their own mindset. As we will see, different criteria imply different priorities, different levels of attentions, different criticism related to the actions enacted by the investment itself. So the process goes through this sequential deployment, starting from sources of ideas and ending up with the combination and the seek for consistency between ideas on one hand and criteria on the other hand. The importance of SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is a very popular and extensively used tool in the general management field. In this context of dealing with investments specifically related to international expansion, SWOT analysis could be contextualized to the situation we're dealing with. So we will explore how to deal with the SWOT analysis in general, and then when it comes to the specific aspects, we'll see how all these items which are embedded in the SWOT analysis could be translated into details related to project of investments and expansion in foreign markets. As I was mentioning before, SWOT is an acronym standing for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, a very important consideration is the fact that strengths and weaknesses are considered at present time of investment and company and organizational situation, which means that if we refer to today and we explore the present situation, we can assess the strengths and the weaknesses of the project. If we expand our timeline in the future and we consider a time extension which is consistent with the overall investment, we can consider future strengths and we call them opportunities. And we can take in consideration future weaknesses and we name them threats. So basically we have strengths and weaknesses in a present situation, and then we have strengths and weaknesses in a future eventual situation, which are labeled opportunities and threats. So basically we can consider the same items, we can consider the same elements, we can consider the same assets, and the fact that we can consider them as strengths or weaknesses in the present or in the future is just related to the time of evaluation that we are considering. In details, what are the opportunities? Opportunities could be related to economic growth. If we consider a national economic system, or if we consider a specific industry, economic growth has to do with the growth of the general economic and wealth condition in a specific context. It could be translated or interpreted in terms of resource availability. So, the better is the economic condition, the higher is the amount of resources that could be considered at the disposal of the investment and or the company itself. Growth sectors. The same ideas related to the specific industry or sector. New markets. This is a very fascinating opportunity for whatever investment project. I mean, as we will see, each market, each good, each service, each country could be described in terms of economic growth through a life cycle. New markets are particularly important because sometimes in a certain local market, our products or services could face with a maturity phase, which means stable growth or being very close to decline. At the very same company or organization could explore foreign opportunities for selling the same products and the same services in a foreign market. So today we could be very strong and our products and our services could be our main sources of strengths. But if we're doubtful about tomorrow, probably we can look for new markets for keeping on selling, promoting the same products or services overseas. And this is eventually a great opportunity for the company or for the organization if the products and the services do not need massive adjustments for encountering the preferences, the tastes, and the needs of foreign consumers. Cost push. Efficiency, which is the pressure towards lowering the costs down, could be a great push, a great booster for the international expansion. So it is an opportunity in terms of potential exploitation of economies of scale, economies of scope, and economies of experience when the company could exploit the very same set of assets and competencies abroad. Regulatory change could be, as we will see, an opportunity and a threat at the same time. Sometimes in some national contexts and or in some specific industry or sectors, regulations could be in favor of the company and its own set of products and services. If in a national context, for example, some services or the production and distribution of some physical goods goes through liberalization, we have more actors competing one with the other. And the incumbent, which is the original manufacturer or service deliverer, could exploit a first mover advantage in such an industry or such a sector or such a country, which means that the regulatory change could be in favor of the established activities of the company, and at the end of the story could make things easier for the company or the organization itself, which could be translated into higher returns for the investment we are dealing with. Same consideration for the political change. Despite the heterogeneity of political orientations all over the world, it's pretty understandable that some political change, in terms of institutional change or majority change, or the advance of some groups of pressure and the decline of some other groups of pressure towards the political system, could be an opportunity for business development. Threats, other agents, other actors, in short, competitors. So we can plan our own activities in our investment project. We can schedule our own moves. We can depict, we can figure our scenarios out. But again, we have other subjects in the same competitive arena that could react to our moves. So competition is the biggest threat for whatever business opportunity, for whatever business idea, for whatever business concept. Competitors could improve our goods or services. Competitors could be aggressive in terms of price competition. Competitors could be very aggressive in terms of international penetration of markets. Competitors could be able to exploit other elements of advantage if we both compete in different arenas. Regulatory change, as I was saying, the same elements, regulatory change and political change, could be considered opportunities for the project, but at the same time could be considered some threats. That depends if the equilibrium that are going to be established in a national context or in an economic system are in favor or are kind of constraints for our investment activities. Change in image. This is a very scary threat for whatever organization in whatever industry. Meaning that the image of the organization is a crucial driver for the investment's sustainability over time. It's a crucial element for the organization to be considered reliable and accountable by others. As we will see in the part related to the investment appraisal, the image of the company, of its own management, or the image of governors in a governmental system, it's crucial for attracting financiers' attention, which at the end of the day means attracting capital from the financial market. Recession, which means economic decline, it's the scariest threat for whatever organization, because recessions generally hits all the industries or almost all the industries, and unless our products or services are totally counter-cycle, our organization is going to suffer by the shrinking of the whole economic system, by the downturn registered in the whole economic system, both nationally and internationally, both for internal crisis and for global crisis. The financial crisis the whole world is experiencing from 2008, it's a very effective example on how the general economic condition could interfere with the industry plans, with the company's investment projects. Another threat is decline of resources. Decline could be related to some physical aspects as well. So, if our sources are getting impoverished by the time, and we need to have access to physical resources, the decline, the consumption, and the erosion of these physical resources could be a very dramatic threat for the economic activity. So if we consider a mine, and we are producing, manufacturing jewels, and we have to gain access to the gems, the impoverishment of the mines could be a potential threat for our company. In the same way, erosion and obsolescence could be related to manpower, forces, personnel, equipments, competencies, skills within our own organization. So decline in resources is mainly related to physical resources, but could be related to human resources as well as intellectual resources like patents, for example. Desirable strengths. So this is the list of the wishes by any organization that could be made visible with the SWOT analysis. Marketplace, or we can rephrase it better, a place where to market our products and services. Labor availability, both in a quantitative and qualitative sense. In a quantitative sense means that we have to access to a manpower endowment which would grant our own activities. In terms of quality, we have to grant our project the necessary competencies and skills. Premises and sites, which are related to the physical resources mainly. Communications. Communication is a very important asset since the communication infrastructure are crucial for enacting relations between the organization and its own suppliers and clients, as well as enacting communication and links between different organizations working in the same value system, suppliers, byproducts, and so on. Suppliers means that the availability of qualified partners for byproducts and other utilities is crucial for the company as well. More existing industry and its equilibrium can be a source of strength for the organization. Financing, in terms of financial markets, capital liquidity, and general availability of financial resources. Quality of life, it's very important to the extent of dealing with expatriate managers, which have to visit the location where the new activities are going to be deployed, as well as for the motivation of the local personnel. Agency resources and stability. So the availability of agency resources as well as stability could be expected or desirable strengths for the projects. All these aspects are visible and become more clear with the SWOT analysis. Sources and development of project idea. As we mentioned in the previous class, we could have different sources of idea generation. Demand, our clients, our customers could give us suggestions on how to improve our products or our services, or how to rethink about our products or services. Linkages with the rest of the world, competitors, suppliers, institutions, regulators. Problem. Through problem solving, we could generate new business concepts and ideas. Resource availability. We consider the endowment of resources. We could try to exploit this endowment in and through the creation of new products and the delivery of new services. Development of activities in general. Again, the existing industry, financing, quality of life, agency resources, stability. Information routes and types of studies. If sources are important for the business ideas, or for the new ideas generation, it's important to focus on the way these ideas could be conveyed from the general environment to the company, and from the company and the organization to the project as a single entity we're taking in consideration. So we can have national, regional development plans. So it's a kind of top-down promotion of business ideas. Incentives could be very effective for generating new business ideas, for example. Sector studies could help the organization understand better what are the threats and opportunities, and what are the margins for future product and service development. Local resources studies, additional support studies, additional support evidences elaborated by research centers or private associations or private company could help the organization find out new ways of fulfilling additional needs for customers and clients. The study of other countries' experience. This is called international benchmarking. So if we focus both on our local market and other foreigner potential markets, we might be able to read the situation in other markets, the state of the art in other markets, and import or export our own services and goods in other markets. So the international benchmarking could be a potential source for new business idea generation. Review product classification lists. We can have different kinds of listing of products. We can have ranking of products in terms of customer perception. We can have lists of acceptance of products by the governmental regulations, which is quite common, for example, in the pharmaceutical industries, whereas the governments or the local authority fix what products could be sold straightforward on the market and what products should go through a prescription by a doctor or a general practitioner. The screening of the project, it's another important item in the general step of the phase of the identification. So what do we screen? We screen the size and growth of market. We screen the local resources in terms of availability and in terms of costs and prices or fees of these resources. We screen the plant sites in terms of first installation and future development of the plant itself. And then we have to screen in a very careful way the appropriate technology, both in considering the present state of the art and considering the future trends of technology. The future trends of technology are pretty significant because technology requires maintenance, and maintenance is very costly for whatever organization. So if we underestimate the impact of future development of technology, we might underestimate the cost of future maintenance as well. Estimate the financial indicators, other requirements and constraints. So these are the main items which have to be taken in consideration in the screening phase. What are the criteria for the screening? The screening criteria may vary according to the investigator. So it's the general idea that different actors, different participants could have different priorities and different interests, could be for evaluating the very same investment. So investment promotion agency, investor, and lender. In the next classes, we're going to expand the range of these potential participants. So far, considering the different exigencies of investment promotion agency, investors, and lenders could be enough for this identification phase. Considering all these elements, we could end up to a first framework of a business opportunity. So summing up these consistent elements we've seen so far, it's possible to frame a business opportunity into two main elements. So what constitutes a business opportunity? Micro elements and macro elements. When it comes to the macro items, we have business concept, investors, market, resources. It is called micro environment because it's mainly related to the company or to the organization or to the government who's promoting the investment project. So it's about the internal conditions. When it comes to the macro items, we have the business climate, the business cycle, and the economic trend. So if we start from the latter, the economic trend is the general economic situation which is influencing our business activities. Again, if we operate in a specific industry or sector, or a niche, or a whatever industry or sector, we are exposed to business cycle. So as we'll see, our products and service could start up, grow, pass through a maturity phase, and then decline. It's very important to assess this macro trend. And then the business climate. The business climate could be defined in several ways. It's about the image of the products in general. So our concept here can be embedded in a product, a specific company, organization, branded product. But again, there is a business climate which has to deal with the idea that, for example, the general community has about this specific product or service. And if the product or service, for example, is getting less and less accepted by the general community, probably our investment is suffering because of this macro condition, which is external and to some extent exogenous to the organization itself. So these micro and macro items present different aspects, but they do present some risky conditions as well. So uncertainty is the rule of business to some extent and could be related to both macroeconomic and microeconomic conditions, both to macro and external elements and to micro and internal elements if we consider our focus on the organization or the company. Finally, we eventually go to the key aspects of project identification. So after having explored what are the main aspects of project identification and the tools, we could focus on the key aspects and be very concrete about the way of putting these ideas into actions. First one, concentrate of best practice. The benchmarking activity that we were mentioning is the study of other practice. We can consider our internal best practices and the external best practices. One key element of project identification is to concentrate on both external and internal best practices. Second, quick negative decision better than delay. So, timing is very important when it comes to project promotion, appraisal, identification, and it's better in such a phase to decide quickly and later on find out that probably was not the right decision or the most effective decision, rather than delaying and postponing things in the future. Postponing is very dangerous because a project investment requires cash flow and requires a stock of resources to be employed in the activity. So if we delay, the financial risk and the financial exposition of the company or the venture itself could compromise the expected future benefits. The last element is to assure commitment of potential sponsors to implementation. As we will see when we investigate the participants of our project investment, sponsors are very important because they could energize the promotion of the project and they could be very effective in fundraising the necessary capital for deploying the activities itself. It's everything for today, and I would like to remind you to visit our website for further and additional information.